Imagine your life before the pandemic. Imagine all the different plans you had, how you saw the future, etc. Now, as soon as the pandemic hit, I'm sure all of that changed. Now, imagine you got moved to a new country for love right before the pandemic started, and all the ups and downs that may come with, all the things you may experience, and how that might impact your life going forward. Well, today I have my friend Aubrey on. She's going to share a little bit about her story because it's the exact situation that she found herself in back in 2020. Stay tuned. All right, now I'm recording.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Hey, Sam.
Hey. Wow, we're here.
Welcome to Den Bosch.
Yeah.
I finally made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a very special episode of Exploring the Foreign. I have my good friend here, Aubrey, on.
Hello.
And,
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming. Yeah, this is really exciting for me because as we talked already off camera, like a big thing that I really want to get out of this is like highlighting stories of people that I know that have like done a really, at least in my opinion, like really awesome things and have like really awesome stories that I feel can inspire others, and people could like learn from different things that they've experienced, or just I've talked about as well, just like documenting these things is like, well, like your life happened and your life is very important. Like I want this moment to be like shared in history, and so I'm really happy that you're here today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Episode 3?
This is episode
for
number
you?
3. Yeah.
I'm glad I could be a part of it.
No, thank you. So, so early before I asked you, like different places you lived at and everything, and I saw you were born in Ohio, but then after 5 years you moved to Arizona, right? So I'm curious, like, where do you, at least in the U.S., like, where do you consider where you're from?
Seattle.
Seattle, really?
Yeah, and this is so interesting, right? Because everyone always asks where you're from.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it where I was born? Is it where I was raised? Or was it where I feel like home?
I think it's subjective.
Right?
I personally would say it's subjective.
And so I always say Seattle because I was raised in Arizona, so I was there for 15 years. But the last 4 years I was in Seattle. And I'm a seasoned person. Like, I was in the desert for far too long. Like, I don't know how you feel when you went to Arizona, but like everything is just the same all the time. And yes, it gets a bit colder, but I really love having the mountains and the forests and being able to see spring and the flowers blossoming, and then like the fall with the leaves changing, and then winter. Like I need to have seasons. So I think for me, Seattle was perfect because you have not a massive city, like medium-sized city, where there's so much to do all the time, and then 30-minute drive, you're out in nature, and that's So it was a perfect fit for me. So like every time I fly into Seattle and you can see the Space Needle and then the mountains, that really feels like home for me.
Okay, that's really interesting because honestly, like I was not the answer expecting at all. I thought you would say either Ohio or Arizona. Yeah.
No. Seattle.
So where's most of your family located though?
Yeah, so my dad's side is all on the East Coast. So I have like my grandma and grandpa in Ohio, and then all my cousins and my aunt and uncle in North Carolina. And then my mom's side is all in Arizona. So like my aunts and uncles and cousins are there too. So it's really like split. Because when you fly from Arizona to East Coast or Ohio, it's like 3.5, 4 hours sometimes. So yeah, a bit different than the Netherlands.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's interesting because like for me, I, at least growing up, always assumed like the whole where you're from question is like, where's most of your family located, and where you spend like majority of your life, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I would say like these last few years of life have definitely taught me that like where you're from could be anything. Anywhere. Actually, how you alluded to like with Seattle, it's like where do you feel at home? Like what places like connect you the most? So that's really interesting for me to hear. You would consider Seattle as
even though I have no family there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. It really is just like a feeling, like you said. Like I think practical reasons, like sometimes when I go to Arizona, like that feels more at home in terms of like family sense.
Yeah.
But in terms of like that real feeling inside, it's flying into Seattle, and then I'm like, yes. yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting,
it's nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
So we met each other in Arizona back in the Boeing
Back in the
days.
day.
Yeah, back in the days.
What
Yeah,
year was that
that was
actually?
2016. I want to say is when I first.
Okay, so you were a junior.
2016 is when I was a junior, yeah,
Okay.
in college. So
Yeah.
yeah, for the viewers here, yeah. So
We're old now.
so I was looking for an internship at the time, my junior year of college, and at the time, like Boeing was like the top company that I was like looking to get in with.
Did you like airplanes?
I know it was just to be frank, like at that time, it was like the biggest thing that caught my eye was just the brand name. It was like
Yeah.
Boeing. It just like just being honest, like it just at that time, it just sounded like, oh my gosh, you work at Boeing.
work
Like it
there,
was like a
yeah.
big perception thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times, like, you know, especially your first job out of college, like you fall for like that. I don't want to say fall for that trap because Boeing was a great experience. I learned a lot, but like more so in the sense of like you want like some kind of brand name, you know, like
To
you're
like
going
launch your career
Yeah.
from there, right?
and not even just that. I think like once again, like the perception thing. You just
Yeah.
feel like, oh, if I say I work at Boeing or if I work at Facebook or what you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there's something
true.
behind that. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But basically, yeah, we
2016.
2016, I was looking for an internship and I was like networking with Boeing, and you were already working there full time, and you were one of the
Yeah.
people coming on campus and you know hosting events and whatnot. And so
It was the finance boot camp, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that where we?
yeah, the finance
okay.
boot camp. I think there's
Yeah.
other like you know like things around the recruitment season that you guys have,
Right.
but for sure the finance boot camp. I remember you
Working
from
in
there.
that group,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember.
You know, it's really crazy though. This is something that I have been thinking about like the other day. I want to say yesterday actually. When I met you at that time, like obviously it was just like you know professional like relationship and all that, so I didn't like know you. But at the time, like I would say I never like got the impression that you would be this kind of person that would
Oh.
skirt off to another country in the middle
Yeah.
of the pandemic and everything, and like that's getting a little hit of the story right now. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I never. So I'm curious, like. Was that the case at the time? Like, was that like not who you were, or like, did you grow into like this person that we'll dive into more, like this person that you are today, or like, did you already have that in you when I first met you?
That's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that,
Really?
actually.
I honestly, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, I don't recall having that vibe from Aubrey. Like,
yeah.
this
Like
is the
that
kind of
spontaneous travel.
Yeah.
I would have to say it wasn't me, actually.
Okay.
I think at that time, which is weird, I was raised in Arizona, and I was like, Arizona State was my like go-to college.
Yeah,
like either of the three, Arizona for me at that time, it was like, no way am I gonna leave Arizona, leave everything I know, my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm gonna do my 4 years here. I'm gonna work here. Probably gonna have a family here. And then it was, when I started working at Boeing, and then they sent me to Philly and to Seattle to do a 4-month rotation, where I was like, there's so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more out there, and you learn just so much from moving and having to start fresh and be independent and meet new friends. And I mean, it's scary, but it's so exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think that was what really like launched my like, now I want to go here and do this.
Yeah.
But at the time when you met me, I was really more like just straight focused only on Arizona, only on Boeing as a career, kind of more like narrow pathed in that way.
Interesting. So I mean with that in mind though, as I kind of alluded to already, you know, like Boeing has like that perception of like it's Boeing, and so it's a really like nice, secure company to work for and everything.
Yeah.
So like when you started having these experiences and started to like grow more into like this adventurous person, like how did that feel that moment? Like was it very conflicting? Because on one end it's like you're working at Boeing, you have a very steady like solid career and everything, and you could like very well go for that typical American.
Climbing the ladder.
Yeah. But then it sounds like something else is brewing out like inside of you, you know. So like how did you navigate that?
Definitely. So it was really like on my mind for so many years, like to climb the corporate ladder. And I think because we had I think it was the deformant plans that we had at Boeing, the personal and the professional, the PMs, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think
that hearing that word is bringing back memories.
Good or bad, right? No, like the performance management tools.
Yeah.
And it was like at the time I was like, I want to be a program manager, and then a senior manager and director and VP, and I had it, all laid out perfectly, right? Of like what I wanted and like how I want my career to go. So then when I was able to like work in the different places, it was like after I think 3 or 4 years when I started to realize this actually isn't right for me, and something felt like just different inside me, like this whole like going to work at 9, and kind of going through the actions. It felt very like robotic, and leaving at 5 and having like the same routine. It just didn't like fit at some point. And there's no like rhyme or reason. Like I tried to rationalize it so many times. Like I can imagine like the pros and cons list that I put together before deciding to like actually leave. So at some point, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if this is right for me. And I was feeling like I still want to go explore and see other things instead of just being in an office all the time. And so I started having these thoughts of like, is this my purpose? And kind of like those like higher thoughts. So then I actually took a 6-month sabbatical. I don't know if you knew that actually. So I actually asked Boeing.
Wait, is this when you did the tour through South America?
Yeah, so I did my first, I did 6 months actually first. So I was actually still working at Boeing, and for some reason they granted me to have a 6-month sabbatical.
Wow.
So then I went to South America for the first time and did 6 months there. And then I came back to work, and it was just 2 months in where I was already feeling like, nope, this is not right for me at all. And I need to be out there again and exploring more and seeing other things. So I actually then quit and then headed back to South America for another 1.5 years.
Oh, wait, okay, so I knew the second South America story, but I didn't know the first one.
Wow. So I was there for 6 months, came back to the US for 4 months, and then went back for 1.5 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's crazy you mentioned that, because like my next question was going to be like, what was your moment where like you made the decision to, okay, I'm gonna just go for like these desires, like these things that I have inside of me, I'm just gonna go for it. Because I had a very similar situation. Like my last semester of university, I did study abroad in Barcelona. And I don't want to sound like a typical like study abroad kid, but like no, but like it really like it changed my life. You know, it was my first time like really like having like an extensive experience out of the country, and like being like, you know, around these different cultures, different languages, and like this experience just like traveling, like just feeling so free, you know, like it's like my first time really having that. And so I went from that, my last semester university, to coming back to Boeing and working full time. And like, not, you know, everyone has a different ways of life. So like, not even like to like try to, you know, talk down on that. But like for me personally, like that was just such a stark contrast of going from that life that I had while living abroad to like the 9-to-5 office life that you described earlier. So like, just as you mentioned, like within like a month or two in, like I was already having feelings like,
this isn't right.
Yeah, something's not, you know. So that's what motivated me to like make the move to Chile, and like that's why I lived in Chile for. So it sounds like you had the similar thing.
It was. Yeah, it was like, I don't know, just like this thoughts and feelings of like, is this really what I want my life to be? Then whose path am I following? Is it my own? Or is it like society, or what I think will be seen as successful for other people? And then at that point, I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for family or friends or strangers even. And then I'm like, what do I have to lose actually? Because it's like, even if you make this jump, make this decision, if it's the wrong decision, you can always come back. And that's why I don't think there's ever a wrong decision. Like I think any decision you make, it's probably right for you in that moment. And if not, you learn from it. So I would rather like take that route than to always be wondering, like I can imagine now, if I was still at Boeing, for example, I would not be here. I would not have had and met all of the people that I met along the way, and all the lessons that I know now. So it was definitely not the wrong decision at all. It was really cool.
That's really cool to hear. Okay, so then you made a decision. You jumped to South America for 1.5 years. What happened?
So, well, for the first 6 months, I was in Colombia and Ecuador. And then the last 1.5 years, I started in Patagonia. So I started in the very south, like the southernmost tip of South America, where people actually go to Antarctica, called Ushuaia. And then I just backpacked all the way up. So I went to Patagonia, and I went hiking and camping. And I was solo, by the way, so I just like met people along the way and traveled with them, which was really cool. And then I went all the way up, and then I did something called Workaway, which is basically volunteering. So then I volunteered in like a few different places along the way. So then I went up through Argentina and Chile for the rest of my time there, and kind of, it was great because I didn't really have a plan the whole time. I was
going to ask you that. Like, was this all just
it was nothing was structured at all. Like I had a flight to Ushuaia, and then it was all just like normally what happens, especially in South America, maybe you know this, like when you meet travelers that are coming the opposite way, they just tell you what they did and then what their recommendations are. And then that's how you travel. So I didn't have any sort of agenda. Maybe one day, like one city I love, and I stay there for 2 weeks, whereas another city was not for me and I'm only there 2 days. But it's like, I don't know, so freeing and flexible that you can just every day decide what you want. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't really have, like that freedom in a sense. So I think that's why I was so drawn to that for so long.
All right, you had this crazy experience traveling through South America, doing volunteering
Ask
work,
me if I know Spanish. Ask me if I speak Spanish.
Iba a preguntarte eso, si hablas español. Sí, pero
Yo puedo.
Okay, mírate, muy bien.
But I mean, I knew Spanish, and then I moved to Netherlands, and it was like, like completely went down the drain.
I know how that goes.
It's horrible.
It's really difficult to keep up
to
with
keep it up. Exactly.
But okay, so you were traveling through South America. You had this amazing experience doing volunteer work, learning new language, meeting people, etc. How did that impact your life afterwards? What came thereafter?
Okay. Well, when I was in Ecuador, was it? No. It was Colombia. Sorry, this is now 2018. Okay. I had a travel romance. So I met... Hey. So yeah, I met someone at my Spanish school. And we only had like...
Somebody was distracted.
I was like, hablo español. No, it was actually, I mean, what a romantic city. It was in Medellin, and like we were learning Spanish, and then every day we were going out on different like activities to see the city, and then at night we would go to like salsa clubs, so salsa bars. I mean, I am not good at all, but it's so amazing to just be there, and it's like hot and sweaty, and everyone's like, It's so cool.
It's the experience.
I love it. I loved it. So we met there. We had like a few days in Medellin, Colombia. And then I was flying to Ecuador. I already had a flight because I was going to start volunteering at this animal sanctuary. But then when I flew, so we said our goodbyes. And then when I was in Ecuador, I had like a minor medical thing happen where I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks. And so he was like, well, how about I just come there? And I was like, well, sure. So then we ended up spending 2 weeks together in Ecuador. And then from there, we texted every day. And then, I decided like a month later that we should try and do distance and make it more. So long story short, it evolved into more. And then fast forward a year and a half later of distance, I made the decision to move to the Netherlands.
Wow.
So that was in January of last year.
January 2020.
2 months pre-COVID.
This is right before the pandemic. Wow.
2 months pre-COVID.
Okay, so where was your head at the time, like going into that decision? Like where was your head at? And like how would I say it? How were you like envisioning this experience going into it? Because how I feel like once the pandemic hit, however you imagine life, like completely flipped on his head. So I'm curious, what was your mindset going into that at that moment?
In January, you mean? When I moved? So I was still like in South America, and I actually flew from South America to
the Netherlands?
To the Netherlands, like a few months prior, and then I went back to the States and got all my stuff, and then I flew. So I think I was still like in this travel mode and just so feeling
free.
Feeling free. I didn't have anything, like no worries at all. I was like, I'm gonna move to the Netherlands and try this out and see if it works, and if not, I'll move somewhere else. And I just had this kind of like no care mentality. So when I got my stuff and we moved back together to the Netherlands, I was just like looking forward to like that relationship evolving. I was like, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna make new friends, I'm gonna travel around Europe and see all of these super cool places I've always dreamed about going but never actually went. And I just thought my life was gonna be like this new adventure / fairy tale that I was so I guess
longing for?
Desiring for. And I just felt so grateful that I like had like this experience that I could do it. So that's where I was moving here in
And
January.
and then March 2020 happened.
Yeah, and it's like we didn't know how it was going to be at all.
Yeah.
I was still living with him and his roommates, and we hadn't moved into our new place yet. That was coming in April, so it was still a bit challenging to like be in a small space with someone for so long.
Yeah.
And then so COVID happened, and it was like, we didn't know how it was going to be. I think the 2 months prior, I was going to like meetups. So then I was able to at least get like a core group of friends, like expat community that I was able to like see and hang out with beforehand. But then when Corona happened, it was just like, destruction.
Yeah.
I felt like.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, now like, what's going through your head in that moment? Like, COVID's here. Like you said, you already had this idea of like what this experience is gonna look like, traveling all these different places, meeting all these different people, etc.
Yeah.
And now we're like you're on lockdown, like everything's shut down. What's going through your mind at that time?
Well, I was thinking it was gonna be temporary.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, so maybe like a month, 2 months tops, everything will be back to normal. But it was kind of like that slow realization. So I don't think it really hit me until maybe like, I want to say May or June, where I was like, okay, no, this is serious. And I think it's like not going away. And I think for me, what was really difficult was not being able to like see like the friends that I did make.
Yeah.
I was just kind of seeing maybe 1 or 2 here and there. And the big thing was not being able to find work. Because I had like a successful career in the States, and then I was traveling, and I thought for me that I had a really great CV and experience, and that I was able to add to a company. But it was so hard during that time. There was like no job postings. The companies that I originally had interviews for in February and March, they all withdrew them.
Yeah.
Saying like they're waiting until Corona is over before they can post again. So I actually didn't find employment for like that whole year.
Wow.
And I think that was the hardest part for me, is like being able to still have like self-esteem and confidence, like going through that, because I think in those moments I felt a bit worthless.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I feel like, at least us as Americans, I feel like so much of our identity is tied to our work. You know, we grow up so much thinking about careers, making money. That's kind of like how we identify success, you know? And even if you have these amazing experiences abroad where like you live or like travel through countries where that's not really the vibe, you still have that as part of you on the inside, you know? Like you can't help it. Like if that's what you've been raised around for like most of your life, it's just in you. So for you to have like that year of not working, I could imagine like how challenging that may be, as you already alluded to, like in terms of like, you know, this feeling of self-worth or like confidence, etc. Like if you don't have employment, you feel like a huge part of you is missing, you know?
Exactly.
Did that feeling sustain throughout that year without work, or did you get to a place where you're like, I'm more than my job, I'm more than my career?
A good question. I think for me, like what helped throughout the year is I was still like, I joined like a Toastmasters club, so then I was able to like network with people, and actually someone in theirs would help me like get my last job in December, so that was really helpful. And I was able to like see friends, and we did like yoga sessions together and led workshops together, and I was able to do more like certificates or more like educational type stuff. And I actually did 3 months of teaching Japanese people English online, so I got creative through that process. But what I didn't realize till after is just like how like resilient and strong I was like during that, because I was getting creative and doing all of these things even though I couldn't find a job, but I still felt like very low, or that I wasn't worth. And the point that I agree with is that we are like, my identity is so tied to my career, or it was so tied to my career, where it's like, if I'm not working, then what am I doing? What's my purpose? And I think it was just like that feeling like such a failure, because in the span of 9 months, I think I applied to over 75 companies, and to either get like nothing back, or rejections, or no comments at all. It just it takes a toll, and it felt like well, why do I even want to stay in the Netherlands? Do I need to like go back? Do I need to get like a master's degree? I don't know. I just kept like fleshing through these different options of like what I should do.
Yeah.
But then I think, more towards the end of the year. So what was this, 2021?
Yeah.
2020? No, what year did I? Last year.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Then I think towards like the end of it, I started feeling like back on it, or like I felt more confident or better towards the ends.
Why?
I don't know, actually. I have to think about it.
Yeah, no worries.
I think I was just becoming a part of different groups and networking and connecting more. And I started like regaining my confidence again. And when I was in Toastmasters, I met someone that was working at Foot Locker, and that's actually like my previous company. And then I applied and got that job. But it was interesting to see that like as soon as I accepted that job, I felt better in terms of like my self-worth. I was like, wow, like I can do this and I'm wanted and I'm valued. But at the same moment, I kind of already realized that that wasn't the fit for me or the job for me. So that was also like pretty, I don't know, it was a weird feeling to feel like good that I had this job and now my identity is back again.
Yeah.
But also knowing that it's actually not right for me.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I could imagine. You know, like as I said, like we have that feeling of like our job's our identity, but I feel like you go through an experience where you recognize like, well, I'm so much more than that. So like even when you have like this job with, for example, Foot Locker, if that's not like really connecting with like your true self or like what you feel like your purpose is, then you just recognize like, hey, this is not for me, you know? Like even though I have like this thing of what people may assume is like, oh yeah, now you're set. Like you got a job at Foot Locker and like you're living in the Netherlands, like it's all good. Like no, actually not, you know? Like
No, it's different.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like I felt like I was in survival mode because like at the end of last year, me and my like the partner that I moved here for, we broke up. And then that was with my visa. So I was really in this I would say marathon like race, like trying to find a job like to sponsor me. And that was really difficult. I only had a few options. It was either like go back to school and get a student visa or find a company to sponsor you. And at that point I did not want to leave the Netherlands because I felt like I worked so hard to like make friends, get my own apartment and just build my life here and be completely independent. And now I have to like move back and give that away, and I just wasn't ready in that moment to do that. So it really felt like I was just like racing to get a job to get sponsored. And I think that's what kind of like made my decision like to just take something even if it wasn't maybe the right choice.
I feel like it's a different kind of stress that most people can imagine, like having to find a job to like secure your stay in a country. Like
it's so hard. I felt like I was like gonna be deported back to my own country. I was like
I can imagine. That's crazy. So I mean, beyond the job search, there's another search that you found yourself in, which is searching for friends. How'd that experience go? And can you kind of talk about some of the people you met out here and you know how that impacted your experience here in the Netherlands?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say like the 2 months last year where I was like going to meetups and just trying to like meet as many people as possible by clubs or whatever, just as many expats as possible because I need friends. Like I need to have people around me, like support group.
For the people that don't know, I should say, Aubrey's kind of person, like if you're at a party and you show up by yourself, she will walk up to you and be your friend instantly.
I'm like, hey, I'm Aubrey. I want to be everyone's friend. So I think like coming in and then having kind of like that core group that we were able to really like get to know each other and do different like activities together, just hang out at each other's house, have dinners together. That was really great. And what came from that is like a smaller group. And we saw each other every week. And there was like even a group of girls from all different countries, and we really like bonded together, and we became super close like during that experience. And yeah, it's like if I didn't come the 2 months before COVID, like I don't know how people make friends, like how it was for other people. So I think like for me, I really like one of my missions, let's say, is to bring people together, like especially people that just moved here or like you said that don't have any friends. Like I actually really love to bring them in and for them to get to know everyone and just feel like they have a place to be heard.
Yeah.
And I just I get so much energy from that. So as many times as I can, I try to host, you know, like dinners or stuff and just try to like bring people together and see if there's anything fun that we can do even during lockdown time, right? That we can be. So I would say it was like difficult at points to like not maybe have my friends from back home or to have that support group, but then after 2 years, I mean, these friendships have really like blossomed into something so amazing and have really like changed me for the better, because I feel like if you're only with like your core group of friends like your whole life, then maybe you're not really changing as much. And when you have like other like ideas and backgrounds and languages like coming into your like melting pot of friends, that's when you really grow and when you really flourish. And I had never really experienced that before until I had moved here. And so now I really feel like so blessed to have had that experience from the people I've met here.
That's amazing. I mean, from outside looking in, obviously I know the people you're referring to, and I've seen like in person, you know, these relationships and these like this vibe that you have with these people. And I think it's one of those things where like it feels like there's no way you could have lived life without meeting these people. You know what I mean? Like you were supposed to like have these relationships. Like I could just see such a special thing. And, you know, it's also interesting because like, you know, I've seen on both sides. Like I had the experience of like studying abroad, and like now I'm like living in London, just like working here. And so through both those experiences, like the how would I say it? The path of meeting people is so different. Like with study abroad, you come with a group of students, you're in a program, like the relationship connection, like, or how to say it, like the process of meeting people is so easy, you know, it's just, they just pair you with people. But like moving abroad for like work or relationships or whatever the case may be, so like different. It's so different. Like you're just here, you're just another person in this country, and like you need to figure it out. You know what I mean?
All
like,
on your own.
It's not like some welcome book and like, hey, here's all these people. Like, no. So I mean, for you to see like the amount of people like that you've been able to connect with and bring together, and in the pandemic as well, like I think it's amazing. Like I consider myself like one of the most social, outgoing people that I know. You know. And I have not gone like connected with it as like nowhere near the amount of people that you connected with out here. And so like I think that's amazing, and like really cool to see like how you've been able to do that.
Thanks.
For sure,
yeah,
for
and
sure.
it's so sad actually to leave at some point.
Okay. So that leads
don't
us.
do it.
No worries. So I mean,
now we're talking about friends, so now all the emotions are coming out.
So yeah, where are we today now? Like what's going on now?
So just to back up a little bit, I was working at Foot Locker, my previous company, for about 6 months, and I really felt like it just wasn't the right fit for me. And it was also going back and forth where I'm like, are you trying hard enough? Like it's like that question, when to grit and when to quit. I don't know if you've had to experience that as well, but it's also making like the pros and cons list, and it's like, well, if I keep going, maybe I will come out on the other end
I think it ties back to like the cultural things that we experience with like this grind culture and like, you know, toughing things out.
Like just do it. Like everyone has to face difficult things. But on the other end, it's like I also have these feelings like life is short. If something's not the right fit, or if you don't like something, then move on, because there's going to be so many other things that are more fitted for you
on the other side.
But I think when you're like really in it, it's hard to see like through that lens.
For sure.
At least it was for me. So I actually like hired a career coach, and through that experience, she really helped me like strengthen or to identify my values and to navigate for myself that it wasn't aligned with my current job, and that's okay. So anyways, I quit that job 3 months ago, and I traveled for a bit, and then the last few months I was able to just relax and meet with friends in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But then with that came the decision to move back to the States. So that was also.
Did you already have that
like,
decision once you quit the job, or was it once you quit, you were kind of figuring out what's going to be next?
Yeah, actually, it was like in the same, I would say.
Yeah.
It felt like I've had a really amazing chapter here, but I always had these, and it's hard to explain actually, but it's like these fleeting feelings of like longing or like desire for the States, be with my family, like strengthening our relationship when I go back, or just like the small things of being with like mountains or friends or something else. Like all of these like little feelings would come back.
Yeah.
But then
just
when
so people know, she mentioned mountains. The Netherlands, like the flattest place
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
So you will not see really any mountains here.
There's nothing. Like you look out and then you can see like 100 miles away. There's just nothing there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that was one of the things I really miss. So all the feelings were kind of there.
Kept reoccurring.
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Exactly. And then when I like made the decision to quit, I was like, I think I need to take a break, which I advise is the best thing to do, because like in this 3-month unemployment break that I've had, I really have like a feeling of what I want to do next. And I have this like calm and just this peace like inside of me. I think every day we're always like, what's next, and distraction and work, and we're so busy all the time. And I don't think, at least for me, I've never just not worked I was traveling or doing something all the time. But I think through that, I'm able to just like breathe and then formulate, okay, actually this is what I want to do next, and this is what I want to put my energy into when I move back to the States. And so it really feels like the slow transition that I was able to give myself in order to move back to the States and then have like a direction when I'm there, or have like focus points of what I want. And that's something I've probably never had happen before in my life. It was always like, okay, go to this college and have this job. Like, I don't know, I felt like I was always jumping to the next so quickly without really taking time to just feel into what do I really want in my life in this moment. So, yeah.
I think
so
that's
that
really that's such a like, I hate to use the word ending, you know. Like, I feel like this is still just the beginning of something new, you know. But nonetheless, like considering how you entered into like this chapter, and like the craziness going on with the pandemic, and how it just kind of flipped upside down like the idea that you had coming into this, and like for you to like leave so peacefully and like so gracefully, like I feel like that's a really amazing thing, you know. And you know, to that point, you know, I was thinking, how would I say this? If this chapter, your chapter here in the Netherlands, was a movie, how would you describe it to somebody, like what the plot is? Like what was the reason? Like what's the message of this movie, would you say?
Actually, I think it's for me, it's just like the takeaway for me is like realizing in myself how strong and resilient I am. I think before I moved to the Netherlands, I was still dealing with a lot of like self-esteem and self-confidence issues and insecurities. I had a lot of insecurities. And I think really moving here and being fully independent, like making friends, figuring out for myself, learning a language, getting a new job, finding out my visa, going through a breakup, and then like all of these things within 2 years, it really taught me, when I can reflect back, like I am strong and I am resilient and I am confident and I'm a badass. Like we're all badasses, but it's for us to see it ourselves, right? Like maybe a friend can tell me that, but if I never believed it before. So I think like in the 2 years, like I really needed this story, this part of my life, like for me, to really feel my own self, or to really like know my own self, and that's something I never had before. So yeah, I would say that's probably like the takeaway that I have from this experience, and it's like so incredible that I could have it. Actually, so blessed.
I mean, I feel like these kind of experiences, this kind of stories that you've told so far, you know, in this conversation, like these are the things like you look back on like 10, 15 years from now, like whoa, I lived that, you know. Like these are the kind of things like you were reading a book or something, or you know, like watching a movie, you know.
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly.
This is like your real life that you experienced, you know. That's That's amazing.
Something to tell the kids, huh?
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I know, that's what I feel. And I think this last week, because my flight is on Saturday already.
This is it.
This is the last week.
Oh, tears.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
But I think it's just, I always like, I'm going back and just thinking of all like the good memories and like the things I will miss about the Netherlands, like cheese.
You gotta show the cheese. You gotta show the cheese. And you guys saw how
Sam,
bad I struggled cutting up the cheese.
Sam didn't know how to cut up cheese before this day. So.
Hey, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
I think you did good though. But yeah, and like in riding bikes, the transport, and the way of thinking here, and it's just, I feel so simple and free and easy. I don't know how it feels for you to live in the Netherlands, but it just feels so simple.
It's actually funny you asked that. Like, I was on the phone, I think 2 nights ago, or no, last night with my mom, and we were talking, and I don't know, maybe I just had to look on my face that I just like look so like relaxed and chill. But she was like, "You're never moving back to the U.S., huh?" And I was like, "Oh, why would you say that?" Like, I don't know. You never know. Like, what happens in the future, you know?
Yeah.
But I would say, like, you know, I told her this too. Like, there is just a certain like level of like just calmness of life that I feel I've experienced here, you know. And when I think about it compared to like life in the States, and once again, like, you know, everything's subjective, so I'm not trying to say this is overall, but like for me, once again, we talked about this, you know, this hustle culture and like, you know, your connection to your work, etc. And I feel like here, I definitely felt a sense of like I'm just living. It's just life, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, with that in mind as well, I feel like, you know, you have this experience, like you'll be able to take that back to the U.S. You know, like I feel like you'll be able to like live through that energy. There.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I will too. I think it'll be a completely different mindset. And one thing that I'm sure about is the vacation days. Like,
oh, man.
Yeah, because the job I had here in the Netherlands, I had 25 days, 28 days a year.
And for any European watches, they'll be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but like
normal.
in the U.S., that's like...
It's a big deal,
that's a huge deal, yeah.
Like, I think Boeing had 10.
Yeah. I think that sounds about right. Yeah, you start off with that. Yeah.
You start off with 10. So I know for certain, like when I move back, like when I'm looking for my next job, that I have a certain criteria that I want, and I want to have, But that's it's a huge thing. I mean, in the end, we're human. Like we need like time with our family, personal time, like vacation time is so important, especially now with COVID and like mental health being as like big as it is. Like we really need to have time for ourselves and to have some relaxation. And I think like a company, like to see that in their employees and give more vacation days, I think, like, I don't know, when I go back, that's the type of company I want to work for. So that's like, I don't know, it's like these small things, like you said, I'm going to take from being here in the Netherlands back to the U.S. when I'm there.
I would say, I feel like a lot of like more startup type companies in the U.S. are definitely more, I would say, like following suit with the whole European kind of work culture in the sense of, well, maybe not in the sense of hours, I should say, but in terms of like vacation. I know like usually they're offering like maybe unlimited PTO or, you know, like a lot of days, etc. But you still have like the old school type companies.
Traditional
the
ones.
traditional is like, like say you start with 10 days vacation and you feel like it's a crime to go on vacation. Like
I know, and then you feel guilty for it. But actually, I was talking to someone because I was looking at some job requirements and benefits for companies in the U.S. And it does say unlimited vacation, but I talked to someone who works for a company that has that, and they said that they have that, yes, but no one takes it because then they feel guilty for it. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. Then why is that? And I think in the Netherlands, like they kind of celebrate it almost. Like at least in my old company, like I was like, I'm gonna take 2 weeks to go to France. And my coworkers were like, yeah, you do that. It's amazing.
Like you better do it almost.
If you don't,
it's like, what are you doing?
Exactly. So I don't know. I really love the mindset of living here. In that sense, like I think having vacation, and I think I also value that more too. I think in the U.S. I was still of kind of that mindset where I was like, no, we need to work really hard, and that's how you get high, and that's how you be productive. But now it's like we're just people. We all just want to enjoy life and have fun. And some people like live to work, but I don't think it has to be like that.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
So now that you're going back to the U.S., does it feel like like this is where you're staying, or is there still maybe another chapter, or
Mystery.
do we not want to speak on that yet?
No,
Yeah.
it's yeah, good question. It's still unknown.
Yeah.
So I really like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I don't say I'm moving back to the Netherlands or I'm moving back to the US. I say I'm just moving from the Netherlands. Because I have nothing solidified or concrete yet in the States. So maybe I'm there for 6-8 months. Maybe I travel for a bit. Maybe I go somewhere else. I don't know yet. I'm just trying not to plan as much as possible. So the first 2 months I'll be with my family, and that's really important to me.
100%.
To just like have that quality time with them that I haven't had in 3 years since I left. And then from there be able to decide kind of where I want to take my next steps.
I feel that. You know, I mean, speaking of family, I feel like that's one thing. Like when you talk to friends and family back home about your experiences abroad, or like when people see it via social media, like, you know, it looks like, oh my gosh, it's an amazing thing, which it is an amazing thing. But I feel like people never think about the shortcomings of it, and one of the biggest ones is family, not being able to, you know, just wake up and oh, I feel like go see my mom right now. Let me go just drive over there and see, you know, or like this weekend there's some family event going on. Hey, I'll be there. Like you don't have those kind of moments anymore, you know. And so, as amazing as these experiences are, like
there's trade-offs.
There are definitely trade-offs, and I feel like people are never really thinking about that. And for me personally, like family is definitely like the biggest trade-off. I would assume it's been the same for you.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
And I think it was really just in the last few months, because I haven't seen my family since March. Where I really start to feel it, and I'm curious how it'll be for you in the coming year. But for me, I can really feel like a distance. Like, of course, there's FaceTime, and we're able to see and talk, but it does feel like I feel very like distant in a sense, like just not completely there how it used to be, and that makes me sad. Like I feel sad from that, and now I always thought I could live abroad, but now I'm not sure. Now I'm like, actually, maybe I want to be closer to my family, because if we talk about values, family is number one. So it's like, I think I really need that, and that's why like my next focus point when I go back is I really want to be with my mom, my dad, my grandma and grandpa, and just have that quality time and try to, I guess catch up from where we left off few years ago.
I feel that. I mean, you're asking like, you know, how it would be for me this upcoming year. You know, interesting enough, I would say, so when I went to Arizona State when I was 17, so like it was like still like relatively early in my life. So like a big part of my life so far has been like just being away from family, because after Arizona I was living in Chile, and then after Arizona I was in Barcelona, and then I was in Chile, and then New York City, and then now here in the Netherlands. So I've just been away from like California, from home, for quite some time. So but I would say for sure, like in those earlier years, like it just felt like, oh, this cool thing, like, you know, I'm just like living my life, like traveling, this and that, you know what I mean? But as the years progress, like you definitely start to, like, how would I say, that sense of we're not here forever starts to kick in a bit more, you know? Earlier, like a few years ago, it's more just like, oh, I'm just, you know, just having fun, but I'm always gonna come back home, my family's gonna be there, and we'll, you know, as you get older, it's like, well, there might be a time that I come back and this person I used to see is not there anymore. You know what I mean? And like those thoughts start creeping in a little bit more. So I definitely recognize how like it becomes more challenging, you know, throughout the years and everything. The more time you go. And also like the dynamic changes at some point, because like, at least for me, I feel like I'm a different person now than when I left. And I think like when I left, I was still kind of in like a parent-child dynamic. And now I really feel like it's more adult to adult. But we still need to navigate what that's like in that dynamic. Because you guys don't have that time together.
They're like, wait, Aubrey, you're adult. Like, and I also feel like that. Like, and I always used to feel like the little girl, but now I feel like adult daughter Aubrey, and that's also kind of like a weird feeling. For me as well. So it's like trying to like see what that dynamic is going to be when you come back together. I feel that.
I would say though, like the one beautiful thing about like not being with family all the time is that it definitely allows you to recognize the importance of like enjoying moments and just like every second. Because like, you know, let's be frank, like when you're growing up around your family and everything, like every day it's just like, oh, hey, that's mom, or hey, that's dad, that's brother, sister, whatever. It's just regular, you know? But when you have these experiences where, like, once again, you can't see them on a regular, you can't just wake up and go over to your parents' home. Like, when you are home, you're just like so. At least for me personally, I'm so in my head like, okay, I'm having breakfast with my mom right now. Like this, yes, like this is a moment, or like
Yeah.
I got to just say hi to my dad, or like, yeah, my
Mm.
brother just came. You know what I mean? Like all those
Mhm.
little things you're thinking about, and so
You
yeah,
can appreciate it so
you
much
appreciate it so much
more.
more.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
it really like it's like you really when you take that space and then you come back and
Yeah,
then you're like, whoa, I'm so grateful for this moment that I have with you.
yeah,
That like maybe we didn't really like feel it as much before,
yeah,
but then that also makes sense just like growing up together like that.
yeah,
So
for
nice.
sure. But speaking of family, I have to mention this because yeah, he probably would like get on if I
Uh
don't mention this.
oh.
But so what's it? Yeah, like about a month ago is when you had the going away party, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I was in that moment, like I was having such like I had like a pause in that time. I was
Oh.
thinking to myself like, I'm at this going away party in the Netherlands for like this girl that I met when I was like 19 years old in
Yeah.
Arizona. Like, what the heck
What's
is going on?
happening?
And then Vincent's there, like this guy that I met through like
Yeah.
this other crazy story. Like what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
And so I was telling my family, I was texting my family about that afterwards. And then one day, like my dad, like I was talking to my dad, and he was like, can you please interview her? Like, I want to hear her
Oh.
story. So like, I had already talked to you about this whole concert and everything, but like
Yeah.
my dad like really was like, can you please?
Oh
And so he
really?
definitely gave me like that extra push to like do
Do
it.
it.
Yeah. Well, I also said it to say like, just so you know, like how like inspiring like your
Mm.
story is, because like he was just like so impressed with like,
Oh,
you know what I mean,
so
like
nice.
like you being here and like
Yeah,
the whole like story behind it and everything, and like
yeah.
that's my dad, like this 50-something-year-old like dude,
Great guy,
yeah,
great
no,
guy.
yeah, really cool guy, but
Shout out, Dad.
yeah, shout out to Pops. But yeah, no, that definitely was just like a reminder to me though of like, well, like there are people that like once again are inspired or like are
Mm,
really like, how would I say it, like motivated by these kinds of stories, and like
yeah.
and it's through like, obviously the story, once you hear it, it sounds like it's like this beautiful thing, and like you're seeing the outcome once again, you
Mm,
coming out so peaceful with it, whatever. But like there was a lot of hardship that went into this. There was a lot of
mm,
like ups and downs, and but you came out on the other side, and now like this is gonna inspire others. I think that's like a really
I hope so.
beautiful, yeah, full circle.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, I
Yeah,
appreciate that, and I would love that as well. And it's like, yeah, everyone thinks like their own is just like, it's just like my life is just a story. But then you hear other people, and you're like, no, that's super inspiring, and
yeah,
that's maybe why we're here as people, is to be able to like share that and bring that to each other.
yeah,
Because I know I'm inspired by so many stories. Like for you, Vincent, anyone else that just even moves to a new country, there's so much uncertainty,
yeah,
especially during COVID. Like you don't
yeah,
know if you're gonna find a job, or maybe you had one, but then just everything around getting outside your comfort zone. And I think in the States, we're in such this bubble. Yes, you can move from LA to New York, and I think that is also staying strong. But to move to another country,
yeah.
it's
That's
like a whole nother ball game.
yeah, yeah.
Like there's so many
There's so many.
layers to that.
Yeah,
So I think it's incredible everyone that is able to do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
super cool.
It's pretty crazy
But
for
you have
sure.
to also have like what I realized is like you need to have like these low points in order to like be so high, right? Like the yin and the
100%.
yang.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we could all like just kind of like cruise like this, but also it's like, yeah, that was like super difficult last year. I don't think I've ever cried so much in my life.
yeah, yeah,
But now it's such a learning experience from that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you go about it properly, like those low moments like motivate you to break through and push
Yeah.
for that
Even
high.
more.
Like, okay, I experienced this. Like,
Yeah.
this is shitty, but like we're gonna make it out of this, and we're gonna come out even stronger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's
Mm.
beautiful. So just to close out,
Yeah.
what is one message you want to share with the world today? I mean, I know this whole conversation is filled with
Oof.
messages, but like, if there's like one thing you could share with the world, like what is that one message?
Okay, one message. This is a big one, Sam.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure.
heavy hitter.
I'm like sweating.
Yeah.
One message. Okay, yeah, I got it. I think what I'm feeling most in this moment, and something so strongly in me is, and it sounds so cliche, but to really listen to your feeling the most and to really make a decision based on that. I think so many times we're rationalizing, and our brain is a tool. So of course we use our brain and we make the lists and we ask friends and we try to rationalize.
Yeah.
But at the end, and there's actually this book that I read called The Full Body Yes. And it's really feeling this yes in your whole body, and really like putting, maybe you have two choices, and putting both outcomes in your mind, and maybe just like sitting with it, and really like feeling which one is something that you wouldn't regret, or that real like full body yes. And I think that is what really has helped me so much through the past year, through the past 2 years, as I can rationalize so much. But it's really like this feeling where I'm like, yeah, this is the right choice for me. So I think it's just going with that.
I love that. So I mean, if I'm understanding correctly, like basically, for example, say you're conflicted between two choices, like you really play out in your head like both choices transpiring, and like how do you feel with that reality?
Exactly. Yeah. So they actually, like, in the book, it says like to close your eyes, and if you have these two decisions, these two choices, to really like play it through all the way, and maybe feel what it's like a year later, or 2 years later, or the other way around. And then there's usually one where you really feel like that's the right one. Yeah. And then the other one, you kind of have this more like, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe that's, you still have some doubt about one of the choices. And I've used that like,
or you start rationalizing why that choice
the brain starts kicking in, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. So I've done that, I think 4 times now, and I feel great.
Wow, I love that. Full body yes is the name of that?
Full body yes.
Full body, okay. We'll have to hit them
How to
up
throw
for
that
like
in there.
some ad revenue from them or something.
I'm getting paid after.
Oh no, I love that. Wow. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. I'm not gonna call it an interview. I'm not gonna call it a podcast. Just a conversation. But I really enjoyed this with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so open and sharing your experiences throughout. And thank you for your friendship. Beyond it, like just thank you for what you meant for me in my life. Like as I told you already before, like when I was making the decision to come out here, like you were one of the people I was speaking with, and like
you were in the
asking for
car,
help.
like in LA driving. I remember that.
I was on the freeway.
Like
in LA.
unsafe.
We won't talk about all that, but yeah. No, so you were definitely instrumental for like some of the decisions I made in my life. So thank you for that, and
of course,
I wish you the best. And
thank you. I wish you the best. New job, place in Den Bosch. You're doing pretty good for yourself.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. And if you ever want to be my intern again, I would love you to give me some coffee.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
Maybe one
day. We'll keep that in mind.
Nice. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. And maybe you'll see you on another episode.
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah, tootsies.
Yeah, tootsies. High five.